Welcome to Backstage with John Taylor Ward, where we get to know some of the amazing artists who make the Lakes Area Music Festival possible. I'm your host, as well as one of the founders of the festival, and today it's a pleasure to be joined by Christian Reif. Christian just finished his tenure as the resident conductor of the San Francisco Symphony, and he's been a festival favorite for many years. We discuss his education and approach to music, as well as his fond memories and affection for the Lakes Area Music Festival. Hello, Christian.
Hi, Taylor.
How are you?
I'm good. Thank you.
Good. It's
How are
so
you doing?
good to see you. Not bad. We've just had our first musicians arrive for the season, so we are ready to start rehearsals today.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah. And
Nice.
you are joining us from Munich, from your apartment, correct?
Yeah.
What is sort of the temperature on the ground there? What are things like? Is it starting to come back to life?
Yeah. I mean, actually, it would seem as if everything is back to life apart from concerts. So apart from our life, it's been pretty. Yeah, it's people are out and about, and it's pretty safe here, and you obviously wear masks indoors. There's some concerts starting up, mostly open air or with very few people in the audience. So there's obviously a limit to who can open. Many theaters can't open because it wouldn't be feasible. If there are only 50 or 100 people in the theater, they can't survive on that, but just financially. But no, it's been really nice here, and we're so happy, Julia and I, that we moved. Well, that we are here in Munich, and the park is very close, so we can go outside a lot. So it's
fantastic.
Good.
So yeah. I find myself jealous of my European colleagues these days because I get to ask them, when is the next thing that you have on your books?
Yes, I mean, everything until September was cancelled, especially, well, everything that is in the States for me is impossible to get to and come back. But the next thing that is not cancelled is in October. I have a few gigs in Scandinavia, which I'm very excited about and looking forward to, and also hoping that that will stay. So yeah, we'll see.
Well, that sounds great. I know we're all
now. It's a lot of reading, educating myself, and there were a few weeks at the beginning, I guess, of the pandemic where you did all kinds of, just videos and little pop-up things here and there, but obviously everything unpaid. But now it's starting to become like more projects that are really nice, and I'm looking forward to. And yeah, so it's been good.
That sounds great. Yeah, and I think for all of us, as if a pandemic was not enough, after the murder of George Floyd, I think we have all had to have reckonings around an even different part of our professional and personal lives. And I think
Absolutely.
This is something that all of us individually have been sort of thinking about, as well as thinking institutionally. Where has your mind been? Where has your activity been focused in sort of taking that in?
For me, it's been educating myself a lot. I mean, I've always felt or thought of myself as an ally, but there's so much to do, so much to understand, so much. So coming back to Europe, coming back to Germany, I just wanted to know more about racism in Germany. And for me, and that's weird to say, and of course every person of color here in Germany would say, oh, he really had no idea. But for me, racism was very much centered on my American experience, what I've seen there, but learning more about the institutional and structural racism also here in Germany, and the history also has been eye-opening and devastating and embarrassing also, that we don't learn that in school. that I've been lucky enough to have a great education, but still there's a blind spot, that everyone thinks Germany and colonial history or politics is, that was just a little bit, and everyone in France and England and so forth, they did in Portugal, they were the people who had a lot of colonies and over decades and centuries, but and Germany just started after 1871 when there was a Germany, and then gave every colony away after the First World War. But in those decades, horrible atrocities have been done and acted out from Germans, and the first Holocaust of the 20th century was Germans in Africa, in Namibia, and I think Germany does a very good job at talking about the Third Reich, about Nazis, about the Holocaust there.
Absolutely.
And we do know a lot and learn a lot about it, and I think that's very good and very important. But we don't know, everything else kind of seems to be crumbling away then, or being not as in the focus point of education. So that's been illuminating also that people, philosophers like Kant, and in the Enlightenment, that has brought forth so many important steps, so many, human rights and force division of political forces, Gewaltenteilung in German, but human rights for whom? Just for white people.
Yeah.
And that Kant himself, that he was the person who took the human race and divided that into camps. I mean, that's something that
Wow.
That was shocking and very illuminating too. And then seeing the structural and institutional racism also in Germany, that perpetuated. That's just we're just at the very, very beginning here in Germany, I feel, to tackle the issue of racism. And so I've been educating myself a lot in that way here in Germany, listening to a lot of and reading a lot of books as well by people of color, German authors, that I can only recommend very, very highly. And of course also reading English-based authors, whether it's Laila Saad, Me and White Supremacy, or others, White Fragility. But I think that's important for all of us to educate ourselves in that way, and then to tackle the issues of institutional, as you said, institutional racism and structural. So thinking about what I can do in that way, and I know I'm sure in the same line of thinking. It's what can we do in our institution, in our orchestras, in Lakes Area Music Festival, and in any of these theaters and organizations. And I think we need to look at, we are serving a community. We want to serve everyone, and we want to, and not just, a certain demographic. We want to be there for everyone and inspire everyone, educate everyone. And I think it's so important that is represented on stage, and that diversity is represented on stage and also backstage in the institution, in the administration, and so forth.
Yeah, I've been thinking about a sort of a two-pronged approach, at least in my own experience. I think there's the inward reflection, which is so important, I think, to the education of yourself, the examination of your own biases and things like that. That's been really interesting. Is not quite the right word. It's horrific in some ways. But then also looking outward and seeing, for those of us who are fortunate enough to have some institutional levers that we can pull, how to use that to try to uplift voices of color and trying to fix these structures. Exactly.
I mean, that's the thing. I recognize how privileged I am. I always recognize that. I know as a white male as a European and in the classical music world and in the career I have, I'm very privileged, and I want to use that privilege. I want to, and I would, and that's a thing. I think, yeah, being conscious of that fact and making sure that every voice is represented as diverse and varied as our community is. And it's not about giving people a voice, giving people of color a voice, because the voices are there, and the voices have always been there. I think it's our duty and also our privilege to listen to them and amplify them. And that, as an institution, as a Lakes Area Music Festival, or also me as a conductor, I can help with that. I can make sure I can commission new pieces. I can play pieces by people of color. Also, same thing with female composers. They're also underrepresented, but they're all there. They're great music, and I feel that is our duty to be as varied, as I said, be as varied as our community and as the artists who work and who have a voice, to give them the platform and just listen.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this is kind of turning away from that now, but you talked about your privileged position as a white man in Europe, as a longtime musician and conductor and things like that. Your brother also, who's in Munich, is a quite accomplished musician as well. Tell me about the role that music played in your upbringing.
Sure. There was always music in our house. My mom is a musician, piano teacher, taught music in school, and also has choirs and ensembles. And so I started with her. I started piano with my mom for the first 10 years, and she, organized an ensemble and so forth, and we played all together with my friends as well. There's always a lot of music in our household, and growing up, it was wonderful. It was our parents. They went to concerts with us, to operas, to theaters. They really wanted to show us a lot, and that's a very privileged position, of course. And my brother is a violinist, and my sister is a singer. And and now being back in Munich, being back kind of in Bavaria, close to home, it's been really wonderful. And I played a lot of chamber music with my brother as well, and I miss that. We just recently recorded something together, and it was a lot of fun. It was like old times. We don't have to talk much about it. We breathe in, we play. We're on the same page.
That really is nice. A fantastic connection. And even, I think for all of us, as we get older and mature, we have those artistic relationships that maybe aren't as long-standing as a sibling relationship, but you really start to treasure those relationships that you have that go beyond needing to talk about the music to just sort of an ability to know what the other person is thinking and what they're going to do.
Exactly.
Yeah. Tell me about that progression from you as a pianist. That was your primary instrument, correct?
Yeah.
To beginning to conduct, and how you got bitten by that bug.
Well, as a pianist, I always wanted to play with people. I wanted to play chamber music, and I also loved that in my piano part, just practically, I have all the parts written in. So I don't just have the violin part of the cello part of the piano trio, but in the piano trio, I have my piano part and the violin and the cello. So that was always, I wanted to know everything. I wanted to know what's happening. I wanted to know who's playing what. And the shift to conducting, at some point I just, I always loved the repertoire. That really spoke to me. The repertoire of the orchestra and the colors of the orchestra, the power, also the everything about the orchestra fascinated me, and And when I played piano, and my teacher also in Salzburg, he always asked me to imagine the colors of instruments, because that's something what immediately gave me an idea of how to play a certain part. With this is now a woodwind, ensemble trio. These are the basses. This is the timpani. This is the horns and so forth, or this is the brass chorale or whatever. That helped me play better. And so at some point, playing in orchestras as well, I played clarinet for a good while. And I took some lessons, and then did the audition in Salzburg at the Mozarteum, studied there for 4 years with my undergrad, and then graduate studies, my master's at Juilliard.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember, were there any particular orchestral pieces that were a real gateway into that sort of thinking? When I think of that age, that sort of adolescent, mid-teen age, it's an age of sort of obsession. And in some ways, I think that the things that you find that interest you at that point in your life really are the strings that keep going for a long time. What were those for you?
It's hard to put a finger on it, because I just listened to so much, and there was as I said, there was always music in our house and also around us. So, but I would say the music of Haydn definitely was a point of fascination. Maybe even more so when I was 18, 19, then started studying, because studying Haydn is so interesting and fulfilling and mind-blowing. Maybe as a teenager, I mean, a rehearsal of Shostakovich's 13th Symphony, Babi Yar, that is something that blew me away, left me in tears, and I always from then on wanted to conduct Shostakovich, and I wanted to conduct that piece. And I was able to, actually. I was able to step in a few years ago in Berkeley Symphony. Oh, that was an incredible feeling. And that piece was definitely, that piece maybe was, I don't know if it wasn't the only catalyst, but it was one of the pieces that showed me that music is not just entertainment,
right?
But that music has the power to make you think more and make you think about existential issues in your life and in the life of the world. And that, I mean, the music Babi Yar, I mean, maybe just or the piece to quickly describe for everyone is Shostakovich's 13th Symphony, and it's a poem called Babi Yar, and the Babi Yar was the village where a lot of basically there was a massacre in Babi Yar. It was during the Third Reich, and that they were all in a ravine. Is that called they were all buried kind of in the earth, and at some point when and no one was talking about it. The Soviet Union wasn't talking about it, and Germans were not talking about it. It was kind of a secret, but because there was a flood, then all these bodies became washed into the village there, and it was and everyone hushed it up. Again, there was a secret, and no one was talking about it. So this the first sentence of this poem is called "There is no monument at or in Babi Yar."
Yeah.
And that just kind of it starts so intensely, and it gets comical as well, as Shostakovich is known to write very satirically as well, because he never knows whether at that point he was able to write basically whatever he wanted, but before definitely he had to walk that fine line of being this hero of the Soviet Union, or persona non grata and being, killed off. So he had to be very careful. But this poem was very powerful, and the whole piece, he wrote it, and that's very special also, and very just emotional.
Yeah.
It's for bass soloist
Mm-hmm.
and big orchestra and bass choir.
Right.
And that I don't know any other piece that is written for those forces. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway, so that piece had a lasting impact on me, and I did look at music differently from that on. I don't know. I think I was 16, 15, 16, something around that age, maybe 17. I'm not sure, but definitely a powerful experience.
Right. Just as a side note, is that a Yevtushenko poem?
Yes. Sorry, Yevtushenko.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the alert for anybody listening right now. If you have not explored the poetry of Yevgeny Yevtushenko, do yourselves a favor and explore those. They are really fantastic. Such an individual voice and such a powerful voice.
Yeah.
So sort of getting back to your career, what brought you from the Mozarteum to the United States? Had you wanted to come to the US? Was that a goal of yours?
Not necessarily, no. The goal was as a student conductor, you don't have your instrument with you the whole time. You don't have your voice. You don't have your violin. You can't just go and practice 5, 6, 7 hours a day on your instrument, on the piano, or something. So and in San Francisco, in Salzburg, different part of my life. In Salzburg, we had a lab orchestra, filled with students, and that the student conductors were conducting, but that was only every other month. And to not have your instrument in front of you and learn, and that's how you learn. You learn in front of the orchestra, and so that was something I really wanted to change after those 4 years that I was in Salzburg. So I researched, and there are a few places in Europe that definitely have better just environment for that. They have more orchestra projects, but those auditions were all in the later spring, and early spring were auditions in America, and in February, I believe. And so I applied to those. I applied to several different schools, to Mannes, to Juilliard, to NEC, to Peabody. And with all of those schools, they have a lab orchestra every week for the students.
Yeah.
So every week you conduct an orchestra. And so that's the reason why I wanted to go to America, really. Plus, then when I came to New York and experienced that city, for the first audition, it was Mannes. I thought, no, I would love to live here. I would love. Also, Salzburg became so small for me after 4 years. I just needed to get out, and New York seemed to be the complete opposite. Huge, loud, quick, everything very, very intense and energetic. And so I felt
picturesque.
No, well,
but it is alive.
Upstate, but not in Manhattan.
Yeah.
It is. You can find the beauty, but it's definitely intense. And so I thought, okay, well, I probably should prepare myself a little bit more for the Juilliard audition, and I didn't expect to be, to be accepted, but I was so happy when I was, and I was the only one to be accepted that year. And I had 2 amazing years with Alan Gilbert and Jim Ross. They were fantastic teachers, very demanding. It was a very demanding 2 years studying Juilliard. Yeah.
And I think this is something that our listeners might not necessarily know. When we think of a place like Juilliard or any of these very selective conservatories, there may be 50 violinists that are studying there, but there's probably in total 3 conductors in the school at a time, and that lends a different sort of feel to those auditions. What is that process? What was it for you? How many people came to Juilliard for that audition?
So first you have to apply. You have to apply with videos. You have to apply with your CV, resume, of course, and with recommendation letters and all that. From that big list of hundreds of people, they only invite 50, I believe. And then the audition is 2 days long. The first day is only academic, is only lots of testing, lots of written tests, oral skills. It's analysis, it's counterpoint. It's basically they test you in any conceivable way, and the test is basically so hard that you're meant to fail.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I failed. I'm sure. I mean, it was crazy. I was not. Obviously, I studied hard for the auditions, but there was no way to prepare you for this exact test. So it was very, very, very broad, and music history as well, and repertoire, and everything.
I would assume that it's designed to find the point at which everybody fails, right? You know,
yes, and there are some geniuses who are great at that and who ace that test. But that test doesn't mean that you're a good conductor either. You know, you can be a genius in this test and fail as a conductor, or just have no ability to communicate your ideas, or you can do both. If you can do both, amazing. But so that was very interesting. We had some one-on-one. I was the only one. And then you have a panel of people, and you have to sing, you have to sight read, you have to prepare a piano solo piece, you have to score read, also sight score read, and so forth. So that's the first day. And if you pass that day, then the next day you get invited to conduct an orchestra. And that's several rounds as well. I believe it was 2 rounds when I was there. Maybe it was 3 rounds. I'm not sure. But so then they weed out people as we go along as well. So it's a lot of repertoire you have to prepare, and then you audition. And in the end, yes, and that year I was the only one to be accepted. There were three people already in the program, so we were 4 in my first year.
Okay.
And then when they left, 2 people got accepted. So in my second year, we were 3.
Okay.
So it was very intimate, very small group. We know each other very, very well, and it was a very good community, and we were very, very critical of each other and supportive. So
that's so important. And so what is a conducting lesson like? I mean, it's not like on the piano where you can see you hit the wrong note, or where you can, tell a lot of those things. What do you talk about in a conducting lesson?
It depends. I mean, there are many, many layers, and it's hard to describe it. But basically, you want to find the clearest, most straightforward and inspiring way to communicate your thoughts of the piece through your body. And everybody is different. Every conducting style is different. I think it's important, for me it was always important, to be authentic to yourself, to not try to mimic anyone, to not watch hundreds of hours of conducting videos and then say, oh, I like him, I'm gonna do this and do that. When I watch conductors, I do look at them and seeing, okay, this worked, this didn't work. Why did this work? Why did that not work? And so forth. And subconsciously I might, find some ways in myself to do the same. But I think that's really important, to not mimic or put a choreography on, or just mimic someone else. I think that's really crucial as a conductor, to be authentic.
Well, and that brings me to another unanswerable question. So when you say this worked, this didn't work, how do you know whether that's you, or whether that's, just the ensemble, something didn't go right in a fingering or something like that?
Sometimes you don't know.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't. All you can do is be as clear as possible. And
Right.
and there's a way, if I do bam, you know when you sing, when you play it. But if I'm doing, it's
Right.
different. Obviously, you can give very amorph or kind of upbeats that invite you, when you breathe, that invite them to play, and everyone will breathe together and then sit down. You don't always have to do this. I mean, that's all. It depends on the character. But yeah, I think that the way to, you have to find your tools in your body to communicate clearly, and yeah,
And
to get that, to really to feel the music, to embody the music, to be the conduit for the music and the composer, to inspire the musicians to play, and the singers to sing better than they thought they could, in a way to step up more, and also to be very flexible, because as a conductor you can have the brilliant interpretation or brilliant reading in your mind, but then you hear something in the orchestra and it's different, but that doesn't mean that it's wrong.
Right.
I mean, there are wrong things and wrong notes, obviously,
Always.
but it doesn't mean that this reading or interpretation of the solo flute player is wrong just because it doesn't match yours. So you have to be flexible and hear, okay, shall we try it like this? What does that mean for the rest? How does it fit in? How are we breathing? What is the arc of the piece? And then obviously for the solo winds and solo instruments, you give a lot. There's a lot of push and pull. There's a lot of listening and reacting as well. So I think that's what conducting is to prepare and listen,
right.
and then you kind of change or you don't,
Yeah. And I think from a performer's angle, I would say that that's what the best conductors do, is they elevate the performance of the individuals and the collective. It's the
that's
voice
much
of
better
the
put than what I said. Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, I think
exactly.
that is a fantastic and in some ways sort of selfless skill, although conductors do not have a huge reputation for being selfless. But I think you are certainly a goodie who is out there to bring out the individual voices of the people that you're working with, which is so
absolutely
inspiring and uplifting. Yeah.
Thank you.
So it was while you were at Juilliard that you met Julia Bullock, the soprano.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Who is now your wife.
Yes.
Tell me about that. How did you meet? How did you first get to know each other?
You might hear her also, or hear her laugh, or whatever I did just previously before, because she's on another interview as well.
Perfect, of course.
We kind of had to, okay, you go there, I go there.
Yeah.
She's, I think, a panel discussion or something. Well, we met in New York. We saw each other like a few times over the course of a week. Every other day or every day, every night, we saw each other at the Met, at the New York Phil, at Juilliard, in some performances and so forth. Right. And so at some point I just asked if she wanted to grab a coffee, and so we well, actually then she didn't have time for that coffee, because she forgot that she had a sound check rehearsal for a concert at Carnegie Hall, all kinds of Broadway musical theater tunes, and she just asked, well, I'm so sorry I had to bail, but do you want to come to the show? So I did, and we had a lot of fun afterwards. Also, we went out with some of her friends, went dancing, and then
here we are.
Yeah, exactly.
And you of course obviously have a personal connection, but there must be, I know there is. It's evident when I see you've been posting videos of you two playing and singing together. There's obviously a huge musical connection in addition to the personal connection. What is that connection? Where do you find that through music?
We love talking about music together. We love we love researching together. We love the programming. Any program that I'm very passionate about and want to try figure out, we talk together, and vice versa. And well, she's figuring out a piece today. Also, we were just on the piano, and she's singing through some line and asks me for feedback and so forth, and I ask her for feedback. And it's really, really nice. I mean, we can definitely say we both have grown, not just personally, but musically, because we're together. We've inspired each other, and that's something very, very special. And I love that, that we, and obviously we have performed together also in Brainerd. It's that's been so wonderful and special to and also to have the time to talk about pieces that you're doing before, because often our business is, a week you go to an orchestra for a week and you rehearse with the soloist maybe for an hour before the first rehearsal, and that's, and you put it together. Obviously when you know each other before already, it's easy, but you kind of get a feel for each other, for the music, and then you put it together and you make the best out of it. And obviously you can get great outcomes out of that, but being together, living together, talking about the piece, whether it was Mahler 4 or Barbara's Knoxville, just talking about it together, singing together, going really deep into the poems and into the music, and that is very luxurious. And I love that we had the time to do all of that, or have the time, and that makes a performance even more special for us.
Right.
I'm sure it translates to the orchestra and to the audience as well in some ways, but for us that makes it very, very special.
Yeah, and I would encourage anybody who hasn't to look up some of those performances that y'all have posted since we've been in isolation. They're really fantastic, not just for their musical worth, which is immense, but also for that sense of intimacy and that sense of home that you feel when you see the two of you just in your music room playing and singing together. It's really touching.
No, thank you. Thanks, Taylor. No, it's been really nice to make music together in that way as well. Those, I have to say, they're not necessarily, sometimes they're just spontaneous. We just play a few takes of it and or just record. It's not like with the Mahler or the Barber where we spend weeks preparing. With this one, it's almost more like, let's just play through this. Oh, this is nice. Okay. Or do you want to do this? Okay. So that's been fun. I do, and I love playing piano. I just miss conducting. That's something I really miss. I miss making music with people, with lots of people, and just connecting in real life, in real space, and that's in real time. So that's something I really, really miss.
I feel that as well. So from that tangent, what happened after Juilliard? I mean, that's a terrifying time at anybody's career when you're sort of thrust out into the world. What was the path that opened up for you?
Again, I was very lucky, very, very lucky. I applied for the conducting fellowship at the New World Symphony in Miami. I got invited to be there for a week, to meet Michael Tusson Thomas, to conduct a piece in the concert with the fellows. And we had a great time, really enjoyed making music together, the fellows and I, and Michael has been since then also, but has been so supportive, and we had a very, very immediate connection. I remember the first conversation we've had in Miami there at his house, and just talking about the piece. It was Tchaikovsky's Suite No. 2, the 4th, 5th movement, and something I never knew before. It doesn't get played that much. Rarely people know it, but so we talked about the pieces, the movement, and one was called The Dream, one movement, and he just asked me, "What is this child like?" I think it's called A Child's Dream. And he just asked me, what is this character what is the feeling of this child? Who is he? Who is she? And we just talked a lot about that, and that informed my whole take on the piece. I already had thoughts, and obviously but somehow the answers that I gave him, he liked, or we at least we talked about it, and it was really an engaging conversation. And since then, he's been really a wonderful, supportive, inspiring mentor. And so I love that we had these, that was at New World for 2 years. It's called also America's Orchestral Academy.
Ah, yes.
And so it's all young people after bachelor or master's degree. They come there and play a professional season. So you play subscription concerts, you play family concerts, education concerts, you play kind of different style, different venue. I did a lot of these. I was basically doing all of the education family, and these club concerts as well. Actually, that was not the first time, but one of the times that Julia and I worked together. I learned a lot there. I learned a lot from the fellows as well, and just being able to have free reign to a lot of concerts and programming. I really grew a lot in a kind of a very safe environment, and then from there on, I went to San Francisco Symphony as a resident conductor. Mm-hmm. It was a great time.
Where Michael Tilson Thomas was the music director.
Correct.
So
yeah.
That has been an incredibly fruitful relationship between you and MTT.
Yeah.
What is it about his artistic voice that really connects with you? You talked a little bit about the approach of storytelling, of character, which is really nourishing, I would imagine, and really fun to be around. Are there any other aspects of his artistic voice that really inspire you or have really shaped the way that you approach music?
Absolutely. I think that one of the many things is his sense of drama, his sense of, as I said, storytelling, his sense of he is a film director as well, and he approaches music in a way as if it's a play or a movie, and so he's the director. He knows, okay, this is the lightning. This is the lighting change. This is now this scene. Who are the characters in this scene, and in what light are they? In what state are they? And so forth. And then we jump to a different scene. Okay, and this is not just with programmatic music where it's fairly easy to say, okay, you have the Romeo and Juliet fantasy of Tchaikovsky. Okay, okay, this is the love theme, this is the conflict, this is the drama, here he gets killed, this is the church and the priest and so forth. You can tell that very easily. But he also thinks about that in any music, and that's very, very interesting and inspiring. And he always asks himself, and he asks of me, what does that mean? What does this storyline, this character, what does that mean for the fourth horn? How do they need to play to make this character happen? Yeah. It's all good and fine if you just say it, or this is that, and this is yearning or whatever. But what and you obviously know it, and you conduct that way. But what does that mean for this the person in the last row? What does it mean for the triangle? How do they need to play that? And so forth. Not just for the first oboe, not just for the first flute, kind of the protagonists in a lot of music. Yeah. But to make sure you're thinking about every single part, and how every single part has a control and a addition to the overall character of the music. And that's been really, really fun to explore more so. And also his take on, well, he is such an incredible communicator. Yeah. I think a communicator of music and an educator, not just for the fellows, but for the audience, for the world. And he, if you look at the Keeping Score DVDs, that, and I think they're actually on YouTube now as well. where he talks about Mahler or Copland or Ives. There are all these or Stravinsky as well. I mean, he met so many of them. He met and played for Stravinsky, for Copland, and so forth. I mean, it's fascinating and inspiring, and to hear those stories as well, and to hear him and enact out how kind of Copland played or sang his stuff, kind of belted it out, and just very kind of very noisy, not beautiful. It's the clear. How do we get to the clear essence of the piece? I think that's something I really learned from him also and thought more about.
Interesting. So it was sometime in that sort of New World San Francisco phase that you first came to the Lakes Area Music Festival, I believe, to conduct.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, it was after your time at Juilliard, correct?
After Juilliard, yeah.
So what brought you there, and what has kept you coming back? You've become one of our favorite conductors for both the orchestra and the audience and all of us. Tell me about that experience.
I mean, it's one of my favorite places to go, and the people. I mean, it's. Anyway, I'll get to that again. But how I first came to Lakes Area, Scott came to Miami at some point. I'm not even sure he saw me conduct there, but we talked, and he probably saw some clips or whatever, or asked people whether I'm any good or something. But I mean, a lot of fellows, or a lot of New World Symphony fellows also come to Lakes Area. So there's a kind of a there's a family. And I think that's how I would describe also Lakes Area Music Family.
Yeah,
Lakes Area Music Family.
LAMF.
No, the Lakes. Exactly. No, the Lakes Area Music Festival. It really is. It is a family. I think now. I mean, even the first time when I went, and I didn't know everyone, but I knew a few. But it was very clear from the get-go that people were there to make music with friends and for the community, and it was deeply rooted in the community. That was what we were there for, and I loved the concept of, or I still love the concept of a free concert, to make sure that anyone can come to the concert who wishes. There are no boundaries, and there shouldn't be any boundaries, and so that the community can come into the hall, and I'm so excited about next year. And so forth, but to come to the auditorium and come or to the open air stage, or wherever we play, and hear high quality of music. That's the other thing. It's not just a bunch of people just coming together and kind of sight reading or playing something and amateur. Nothing wrong with that, obviously. I mean, I've played in so many ensembles that were not professional ensembles, and I loved it. But the quality of the musicians of the Lakes Area Music Festival is so high, and what I've been told also by many other people who go to other music festivals in the summer as well, they're always surprised at how conscientious and just how important and serious all the musicians take the rehearsal and the concerts. And it's not we're just here to see friends and have a good time. No, the concentration of all the musicians in rehearsal as well. It's really we're there to make music the best way we know how to, and not just in one rehearsal put it together and, well, who cares? We're all there, just have fun. No, it's really important also for me that the music is on high quality, because I feel that can give the audience an even more direct and more inspiring experience, and touching, emotional.
I think that's one thing that we try to set our musicians up for, because so many of our musicians are in various orchestras that they play with week after week. And we are a non-auditioned ensemble, so we are also looking for people who are going to fit that family vibe of the festival as well.
Yeah.
And one of the unintended great consequences of that is, I think, that when players get to the Lakes Area Music Festival, it's a very friendly environment, but it's also an environment where they all want to show off what they can do. So they
Yeah.
are motivated. These are people, they're playing with people who don't play next to them every week for
Right.
30 weeks a year.
And not just show off to the audience, but show off
Right,
to the
right.
musicians, to
They want to
the
show each other
orchestra.
what they can do. And when you are in a room with everybody who is, with all of these people who are motivated to really show their best work, I think you get an amazing product.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, it's been so fun now, the many years that I've come to Lakes area. It's how, I mean, and then when I was in San Francisco Symphony, how people just ask me about it, about the festival musicians. And they were like, hey, it sounds amazing. I heard great things also from some other musicians. Can I come? Can I come and play? And it's been really fun, kind of having a network also with the Lakes Area Music Festival. To have a network of musicians all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
And when I go and conduct XY orchestra, I see Lakes Area Music Festival people in there. And same as with New World, there's a family, there's an immediate connection. When I see anyone who has been at New World, there's an immediate connection. Right. And even if the orchestra is completely new to me, there is one. And I don't have to know that person from my time at New World. Same with Lakes Area. It's if you have played there, you're part of the family.
You have a common experience.
Yeah, and also, and you and Scott and other hosts, families, they've made it so special and so familial and so loving. I enjoy coming back there every year.
Well, thank you. We enjoy having you, of course. So I asked you about Michael Tilson Thomas's voice and what you gained from that and what you love about it. You are still a relatively young conductor. Mm-hmm. But in your dream world, in your vision of yourself, what is the artistic voice that you hope to bring individually to your productions? I know it's a tough question, but I know it's also something.
Is this the beginning of the interview? And now we have a few hours.
This has been a sound check
yes.
up until now. But yeah, I know we all think about this probably daily, but where are you trying to get to with your voice?
That's a really good question and a big one, and not something we can talk about in just a few minutes. But happy to talk about this more in the summer or summers.
Sure.
But I think it's. I mean, I try to be, every one of us, I think, but I try to be my best self, both personally, and I think if I am personally, I am professionally my best self. I want to be inspiring. I want to be nurturing, not just musicians. I mean, and I wouldn't talk nurturing about or talk about nurturing the professional musicians who are playing at the Lakes Area, but also the audience, to be a source and a source of inspiration, and also to create an atmosphere of playful exploration and experimenting. And I want to make sure that anyone can hear great music and can play great music and be inspired by it. And I don't want classical music, to be in this kind of Elfenbeinturm, in this elven tower,
yes.
In the kind of tucked away, and you have to have a special key to get in.
Right.
No, I think classical music is part of everyone and belongs to everyone. And I think for me, it's just a way to amplify that message and create a space for that message.
Yeah, in a way, it's about giving everyone, the audience and the musicians, permission to be a part of it and to have some ownership over it. I think that's really inspiring.
Absolutely. It's not my music, it's not your music, it's our music. It's everyone. Really, I think that's important, and also, and that means that it needs to be, and that we come back to our first few minutes of the interview. I mean, that's why it's so important that the whole world is being represented as well, not just invited, but represented in every facet of our art making.
Absolutely.
From the pieces we're playing, from the composers, from the performers themselves, from the people who are behind the scenes, and so forth, and those who make it all possible. Everyone. I think it's important.
Absolutely, and what a wonderful way to sort of round out the interview. I really appreciate you taking this time, and it's wonderful to hear from you. Before I let you go, I am going to ask a few just flash questions, random things. Just tell me the first answer that comes to mind, if you don't mind playing my little game.
Sure, do it. Let's do it.
Okay. Favorite animal in the zoo?
They need to be quick.
Go for it.
Oh, okay. I always loved the like panther and tigers.
Favorite woodwind instrument?
Well, I'm a clarinetist, so clarinet.
Favorite pizza topping?
Rucola, prosciutto crudo, and rucola.
Oh, you're a classic.
And maybe with a little bit of oil or truffle oil or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
That's an extra thing.
Do you have a lucky number?
No, but my birthday's on the 13th, so 13 was never a bad, unlucky number for me, but rather the opposite.
Okay. Favorite piano concerto?
Oh, no. That's I mean, Brahms 1 and 2 are definitely just right up there. I mean, Beethoven, Mozart. Do I have to pick?
No,
that's
you've given us a selection. That's fine.
Yeah.
This is very important for a person from Germany. Chocolate or gummy bears?
Oh, chocolate. No doubt. I mean,
for me, Haribo macht Kinder froh. Always.
Und Erwachsene ebenso.
Yeah.
No, I know Julia loves gummy bears and any, but I never liked anything that was gummy-ish or chocolate all the way.
Favorite superhero?
I started with Iron Man, so I mean, but he's oh my. Oh, that's hard. I don't know. I mean,
we'll go with Iron Man.
There's so many. I mean, yes, Black Panther. He's incredible.
What an amazing movie.
Oh, very. Yeah.
And one last one. What has been a TV show that has kept you going over all of these quarantine times?
I honestly thought I would watch way more Netflix or Amazon Prime or anything. But somehow there was more work to be done, and so I only watched in the evening sometimes. But I enjoyed The Last Dance very much. Okay. Michael Jordan documentary. I thought that was amazing. And also because I did not really know enough about basketball. I'm not a basketball fan.
Yeah.
I'm German. I'm more soccer, but that was incredible to see. What else? Yeah, I've been watching several here and there shows here and there, but
good.
Yeah.
Well, it is so good to talk to you, Christian. And
it's so good to talk to you, Taylor.
You taking the time.
Of course, anything for you, anything for Lakes Area Music Festival.
Well, we will speak again soon, and I really appreciate it. Have a great day, and until we see each other next. Yeah,
it's fairly evening now, but yes.
Oh, that's true. Well, enjoy your evening.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Okay, bye-bye. Thanks for joining us. For more information on the Lakes Area Music Festival's programs or to make a tax-deductible gift, please visit lakesareamusic.org. Tune in next time. Till then, bye.